I'm gonna begin recording. Um, awesome. So thank you for coming to part 3 here. Um, just in case if you haven't got the previous work from um, the other like series, I'm gonna throw in the chat uh, the GitHub. You should be able to just clone this as long as you have like Docker and React and all that stuff installed. Should be able to just clone this and uh, be caught up to basically where we are. And this week we're looking at the Flask API. I don't know if we'll get to the Nginx stuff, and that can definitely be pushed to the end of React or something like that. But yeah, we'll definitely be looking at Flask and making our API and that sort of thing. Yeah, to get started too, not last week, the week prior to that, we got our like machine learning engine all like built and everything. And all that stuff should be pushed onto the GitHub too. As a quick review, we have like our two files, the ML builder, which essentially just cleans all of our data and then uses some fancy like natural language stuff to stem words in descriptions and keywords and genres and all that stuff. And then we basically put everything into a matrix, and then we start like we get like a movie that we want to like assert our recommendation on, and then we search the matrix for that movie, and then we get anything that is like similar, the top like 10 or 9 or whatever, or number of suggestions basically. So the ML builder does all the stemming and does the cleaning, and then our engine is a function that actually goes and gets the movies and does basically the comparison or the sorting of the matrix. And then we just like build some JSON object and return it. And we're able to test that out too. But our first step for today is cleaning up this file a little bit, because we want to call the function. We don't want to like have it just print out in the console. Yeah, so first we can get rid of the print there. Oops. Sorry, someone is joining us too. Awesome. Just to get you caught up to speed there, Jamie, we basically just said hi, talked a little bit. This week we're doing API stuff. I am pretty confident you're in the other ones as well. So yeah, if you need anything, you can go to the GitHub and grab the current code. And the only thing that I've done so far is just get rid of this print statement in our engine. Yeah, so our first step, like I said, is just cleaning up this file a little bit. Sorry, last week. Awesome. So I believe everything in here is pretty good. The only thing that we should add to this is some sort of trying to find a movie, like for example, like the movie just Spider-Man, or if you misspell it, put 2 N's or something at the end, you're not going to be able to find a movie and it's going to throw some errors. So something that we need to implement is error handling and a way to try and get movies from like a misspelling, right? If I spell Garfield with a PH or something like that, I still mean Garfield, but I should be able to still find my movies based on like those smaller sort of spelling mistakes. Yeah. So first thing we're going to do is implement that error handling stuff. We do this through a try catch statement. So try select here. We're going to throw our IDX finding, and that finds the title. So we're going to try and find the title in the matrix array. If there is an exception, like we can't find it, we need some way to just say like no results or something like that. So we can say like return oh yeah, awesome. So this will work if I say Gavin. I don't think Gavin is a movie. It will probably return with the no movies found, which is good. But if I put in like the Dark Knight and I spell night wrong, I want the Dark Knight. And so we can actually use this IMDb alternative called the movie database. Here, the movie database. And this is just a alternative to IMDb. IMDb, you have to pay for like their API calls and stuff like that. I'm not gonna make anybody pay for anything here. So in lieu of that, we can actually sign up to TMDB, and it would give us all the information that we need. And something that's cool is that there is an API call to try and find a movie, basically using like this search, right? Right. If I spell Garfield, okay, it's a bad example, I guess. But if I say like Gar space field, other Garfield movies should come up, right? Which I guess didn't really happen here, but close enough. You'll understand what I mean after. Yeah, I guess it's not working, but you'll see what I mean once everything is up and running there. Anyways, TMDB has these API calls that we can put in movies with like misspellings, or like a very common one is like Spider-Man. There isn't just like Spider-Man, one word. Like I think the first Spider-Mans were Spider-Man. Then there's like Spider-Man, like Far From Home and that sort of thing. And so because there's no titles that match, we want to get basically a Spider-Man movie of some sort, and then be able to do our assertions onto that. So yeah, that was a long-winded explanation. So I will throw this guy in the chats too. Now, I don't exactly know. A lot of this changed in terms of getting your API key. But if you scroll down to the bottom, I believe on the footer, there's like API. You can sign in. It has all this information about how their API works and like what authentication, that sort of thing. There is a way. I can give you my key here, but basically. I'll give you my key. I am going to remove this key maybe in a week or so. So you can't use it all the time because it will go against me. But for now, you can use this if you don't want to sign up. I highly suggest that you do sign up though. Yeah, and so we need that API key to put in our URLs to say, I'm this person, I'm going to be able to like send this information. Okay, so we need another try catch here. And in this one, we want to send a request to TMDB with our API key and with the query of saying like, what is this movie, right? And then hopefully in the results, we'll be able to get the title of the movie that matches closely with what TMDB found. That's the goal here. So result, I'm going to say is equal to request dot get, and there is this long, which I can throw this in the chat as well. This guy. And so after this, we want to put in our API key. And query and title. Okay. This is great. We also need to import, need to import a request library too. Requests. Requests. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, so what's happening here? We're sending a request to TMDB with our API key. We're saying, hey, we have this title. Give me something from it. And hopefully it should give us something from it here. And to parse out the title from the results, we can say the title is equal to the results, JSON, the results, the first one that has title, basically. And then with that, we are hoping to get a movie from our matrix there using the IDX equals to the data frame, blah, 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 blah. Basically line 11. And then if we can't, we want to return no movies found. Now, something to consider too, in your code, having API keys is really bad because like they're kind of sensitive, right? This is definitely not as severe as like credit card information, but it's like very close to like, I shouldn't be sharing this with you, or I shouldn't be sharing this on GitHub, that sort of thing. And so what a lot of people do is they make configuration files. So for us, I think just the easiest, plainest way is just to make a config.py. And then in here, we'll have API underscore key and set that equal to our API key here. Awesome. And then in our git ignore, we can, this is in the wrong directory here. We can go ahead and say backend / config.py. We're going to ignore. And it should ignore it. That way, we still have, are we using environments? No, that is one way you can do it. You can also just use like JSON or YAML files. This is a small enough project that we can probably just use this config.py and then just omit it. It all does basically the same thing. But if you want to use environment files, more than welcome to. Now we're able to access this key anywhere that we say import config. I think we just need to do this. And then instead of this guy, we can say API underscore key. I think maybe config. There we go. That way, when this gets pushed into Git, people will not have access to our API key. There is kind of a way that you should be aware that people can still technically access this because in their browser, when you inspect it, you can probably see like the network traffic and be able to pull things from there. There's definitely ways around it. I don't know how to sort of get around that stuff. Especially if you're like, you should be doing this on like server side. which I guess this is what it's doing. Um, yeah, just something to keep in mind when you're using these things. And then always like go and check to see. I actually checked last week to see on my old project, and I saw someone randomly was using my old one, and so I deleted it. But we are using the backend to get a response. Yes, sorry, that part went right over my head. That this isn't the front end using it. Now, in the front end, if we did this request call, you would definitely be able to see that and see the code like in the inspect, in the like the networking and stuff. Yeah, you're correct. That was my my mistake there. Yeah. Awesome. So we could test this out, but I am eager to keep on moving on, and then hopefully nothing else breaks. So okay. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here. So the next thing that we should be doing is building the actual API. And we're going to be using Flask for that. So we'll make a new file, new Python file, api.py. And in this one, we could say from, oh my gosh, Flask. Import Flask request and JSONify. Now, Flask, I believe, comes with Python, so you shouldn't have to download anything else. Like, you shouldn't have to do pip install Flask. If you do, or if like it says you don't have it, just do a pip install. You should be good. We also need Flask cores for our cross-origin request, I believe it stands for. That's for like some security stuff. A little bit out of scope, in my opinion, for this. We just need to define it here, though. And we're also going to import our engine, which is our engine file that we made before. So with Flask, you need to make a like Flask object, and we call that app. Now this cores, we also need to set that up as well. I knew what cores did like 3 semesters ago. I cannot tell you now. Yeah, I use GitHub Copilot for my sort of suggestion stuff. What version am I using? I have no idea. As you can see here, I need to update. Oh, a Flask. I'm going to assume the latest one. I don't think it would be anything different. Oh, maybe we do have to install it. That might be my bad. Again, I'm off my game here. I got Flask and I got Flask RESTful. Yeah. I can also throw this in chat too. This is your requirements.txt. Awesome. So what I like doing with my Flask stuff is always having like a way to check to see if we're online. And with Flask, we first define a route. In this case, I'm just going to say the home route. Or maybe I'll do maybe like API health or something like that. And then we can define a function. And basically this is saying like, okay, when we go to localhost 5000, I believe it is, and we type in this API/health, Flask is going to bring us here, execute this function, and return whatever needs to be returned. In this case, it will just return the text healthy. But I want to JSONify this a little bit. So I can say JSONify status is okay, meaning we are online. So I always like to have that stuff on just in case if you want to run some health inspector or just to see if it's online. You could definitely do it with other things. This is just a quick and easy way. And we also need another route for our recommendations. And so you can make the route whatever you'd like. For this, I'm just going to say API recommendation. We're going to use a get method. If you're unfamiliar with REST APIs, there's a couple of different methods. So there's get, post, put, delete. Those are kind of the main four. And those are like all your CRUD operations. Patch, yes, is one. Options is another. There is quite a bit. Yeah. Just those first ones are very like the CRUD operations basically. And so we can specify this route is a get route. We could also specify the same route and put the post here. And those would mean two different things. The get route is always getting a resource, where the post route is always like pushing information into the backend server. Yeah, the most used basically. Yeah, so think of it as getting is just like exactly what it sounds like. You're getting a resource, whereas post is like pushing your data to like Facebook when you like tweet out something or use Discord or something as an example. Like those would be all things of like posting something, but you reading like the terms and service or something like that. Those would be like get requests. In this case, we are kind of posting something, but it's more of a get because we are just pushing a title into the parameter and receiving information based on that. It would be different if we were posting a new movie into the database. That would be a post, right? Whereas this get is we're just getting the requests or the recommendations. Yeah. So again, we need to define our thing, our, gosh, I'm blanking out. Function, yes, that. Yeah, and we're just going to use the recommendation here. We're going to get the title from the arguments. And so what that will look like is, it will look like API title, The Dark Knight. That's what our request API is going to be looking like. When it gets to here, we're able to say, okay, what is the parameter to this? And the title will end up being like this without the %20, %20. Those would be spaces. And then we can go ahead and call the recommendation engine with that title and hopefully return our JSON results. Now, hopefully that makes sense. Now, there's also another aspect of this too. If we go back to our engine and if we ever get this no movies found, it will just be returning JSONified version of the text no movies found, which may not be what we want. And so instead of doing this just straight on, we can say if our results, if results equal to no movies found, then we want to return and I think okay, so this is saying if the result is no movies found, let's return this JSON version of status. There's an error. The message is no movies found, and our error code will be 404. And so just to touch quickly on those error codes. When you are, if you're ever like scrolling through the inspector or something like that, or on the internet, and you always get those 404 error pages not found. 404 means like there's an issue, or the resource you have found or are requesting is not on the backend server. That's what 404 is. There's also like 500, which is another common one, that is something happened on the backend and we can't deliver you the resources, which is different than we can't find the resources, right? The one that says like we are all good is 200 okay, saying like, yes, we have got your stuff, and we are pushing it um, to you, basically. I see Jamie saying 4xx is user's error. Yeah, 500 or 5xx is server's error. Yeah, exactly. There's a bunch of these, and they're always adding more. I think the last time I checked last year was they were looking at adding a like 302 payment request one because there's so much like online shopping now. Um, yeah, which is kind of cool. But there's quite a bit of these error codes. And so we could say 200 here. We don't have to because I think it's assumed, I think Flask just automatically assumes that if we're returning something and we're not specifying anything, it's just going to be 200. Okay. Awesome. Now, there is one little syntaxy thing here. I want to say the list of movies. Here. So I just put the movies in, or the results in brackets, squiggly brackets with movies colon results. That way, our results will look like movies and have an array of movies. Yeah, that's just kind of a personal preference sort of thing, and you'll see it later on. Awesome. Continuing with this, we just need to say we need to like start the Flask server. So we do that by saying if underscore underscore name underscore underscore is equal to main. We can run the app and debug. Another thing is we got to specify the host, which will be itself. So localhost or 0000, or should be out of the JSON. Yes, I believe so, because I believe how it works is like this is one like object, I guess in Python, and this is like another object. And so we're able to send two pieces back. I am fairly confident like Flask handles all that stuff. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Now, yeah, I'm also not a very big Python person either, so not super confident. Awesome. That is our API pretty much done. And we have our error checking done. Now, the thing that we need to do also is just change up this Docker file. Because if we remember from 2 weeks ago, we were just running the engine file to get that print statement. But we don't actually need to run the engine file now at all. We still need to run the ML builder to do all that cleaning and everything. But we no longer need this. Instead, we need to run the Flask server. So a couple things we need to add here. We have to expose, you can choose any ports. Copilot just chose 5,000, which is exactly what I'm going to do. And then instead of engine here, we are going to say API. Um, WSL, please. Oh, yes. Sorry. That's pretty much all of it there. Um, Now we can actually test this out too. I'm gonna post this guy into here. So our Docker command to just run this API and machine learning stuff, Docker run dash IT dash P for ports. We're gonna match our host port 5000 to Docker's, like the internal port inside the Docker container to 5000. And then specifying our image and our tag here too. I don't want to run it. I just realized that. I want to build it first. Backend Docker build. So this is going to take maybe a minute or two. Is there any questions or anything? I know I kind of sped through a lot of stuff, but what's first? What do you mean what's first? Oh, the command. Sorry. Yeah, so it'll be Docker build dash T uh, image tag. And then the run. Sorry, that's my bad again. Working all day. I have to code at night. So my brain's a little mushy. You definitely can. I pretty much always do. I pretty much come in here, I believe, and just like delete it. It's just gonna rewrite over it if you run it again. So awesome. And we know our Flask is working if we get this little running on all addresses, running HTTP, blah, 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 blah. I believe you should be able to just go into here. Okay. Well, we got a not found, which is kind of to be expected. API, hell. We got the okay, which is good. Now we need to recommend. I'm actually just going to copy this guy. Yay, it works. Yeah, so our title, our parameters are here. We can see that it's returning The Dark Knight Rises, Batman, Batman Begins, Batman, The Mask of Fan Phantasm, I think. Batman, blah, 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 blah. Awesome, 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 awesome. Now, if I do, okay, I don't know, I'm just going to do a bunch of random letters. We can test our error message. Let me zoom in here too. Sorry. Our error message, no movies found, there's an error. That stuff is all good. Yeah, that works. And then, yeah, the Spider-Man one also works too. I just noticed from experience that there isn't a movie called Spider-Man. They're all Spider-Dash Man or like the Amazing Spider-Man or whatever. We can see here we're getting Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man, Homecoming, Arachnophobia. Okay, you're getting an error. A Docker build X build. What command? Uh, oh, yes, there is a period at the end. Again, that is my bad. I'm so sorry. Yes. Yep. Yep. You are correct. There is a period. Okay. How are the other two doing? Cedric and Alex? If you're just relaxing and chilling out and waiting, that's all good too. Um, building. Okay. Yeah, the building takes a long time, so. We'll give it just a couple of minutes here. We can definitely quickly look at the Nginx stuff because it is very small and short. Um, and we have a little bit of time still. So open to that because I think the React stuff will take an annoying amount of effort and time. Yeah. How is it going, Jamie? Is it working? Building. Okay. We're all building. It's not the worst part. It's just I don't know. I think that there's kind of like a lot of mechanisms to it. I'm actually using React right now in my work, which I honestly didn't think was ever going to happen. But I'm learning a lot, and I've come to terms that I really like React as a framework. Prefer backend. I have no idea. I do really like all of it. I think um, because right now, so my team is there's only like five of us, and everybody else is very technical and very if they could just have text on a screen and buttons and nothing fancy, they would be perfectly fine with that. But obviously, like our customers aren't like that, and so they have hard times like making front ends and stuff. And for me, I actually really enjoyed we have like a UX and UI design course. Um, I really enjoyed that course. And so I'm finding that I'm being pushed into more front end work, which is perfectly fine by me. I don't mind. Um, it's a lot of fun too. Um, but I also do like having like writing the controllers and that sort of thing. They have a preference. I don't think. Maybe it depends on what it is. An error. Valid syntax. Return. Hmm. Spelled return correctly. Oh, I'm assuming that that is kind of this line here. Is it is there indentation? First guess. Another thing you could also try too is just throwing it into some sort of JSONify, something like JSONify status found or something. Yeah, the building is yeah. I fully understand. When I was like rehearsing this quickly, I was doing it with like, oh, we're gonna do this, then we're gonna build, and then test it out or whatever. And then I found it was just so much waiting that I was like, okay, we are just going to build once and try and get through everything first. What's the advantage of uh, sort of going step by step? I assume if you're learning, then like, oh, when you deploy, yeah. So like Docker and stuff is used when you deploy, or uh, like if you ever use like Conda environments too. Docker is just like one step above that, I would say. Uh, yeah. It's also really cool. Like you can definitely do this not using Docker, but it's really cool to have like one Google Cloud VM and have like a couple separate systems on it that are doing different things. But also like that part is kind of cool. You almost have like a bunch of like 4 or 5 VMs in one VM. Another thing is like microservice architecture. See the engine again? Yeah, of course. Not too sure what you would like. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so I can fit everything on. I'm going to ramble a little bit because I like microservice architecture a lot, which is where, like in our sense here, we have two Docker containers. One has the front end and one has the back end. Um, as long as your API calls are the same, you could effectively swap out the backend container with a new backend that you've been developing on, and everything should just fit perfectly. There's no need to go back into the front end and change, this code and this code and this code to make it all. I think that in itself is a big advantage. Um, and like when your SQL Server Docker container goes down, you can quickly spin that back up, but it doesn't affect everything else in a sense. Everything else is still up. Just might not be able to access the data. How are we doing? I'm assuming building again. What did you add after the address? In the API? In the API? Oh, wait. Or do you mean in this guy here? One way you can test it out. You can change Spider-Man to like the Dark Knight and other movies or nothing, and you should get different results there too. No movies found. Okay. Try the other one. Try throwing that at the end and seeing, because The Dark Knight is a movie in that in the Matrix. Like that's the actual title. We know that that's in there. We know that Spider-Man is not in there, and it will make that API call. Awesome. So there might be an issue uh, in this kind of area here then. Could also be maybe the configuration or the API key or something like that. Uh, Jamie, how are we doing? Awesome. Cedric is all good. Jamie, you're it's all working. So you should be able to go to 127.0.0.1 colon 5,000. You should be able to get you'll get like a 404 thing, I think, but should be able to like at least get to here. Then if you add in the site can't be reached. Make sure you're using the 127, not the 172. Do that. I'm doing okay. Another thing could be exposing the port this way, and also including it in the Docker file too. And if you change those steps, you don't have to build again either. You might have to build. You might have to rebuild that Docker file. Awesome. It works. Awesome. 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 Oh, it was the port. Yeah. No worries. Cool. Yeah. With all of that too, we can definitely actually, you know what? Yeah, we won't worry about the Nginx stuff today. Yeah, now we basically have our machine learning stuff, and that's basically the entire backend done too. And so then it's just the front end. Yeah. If you are interested in doing a little bit of homework stuff, with this API thing here, you can actually append it to that JSON and get different information. So for example, there is a way to get there is a way for API reference. Let's go to movies. There's some things that you might want to get, like the URL to like the poster, movie poster, or something like that, or even the IMDb information of like how many, I don't know, like Rotten Tomatoes or user score or something like that. And if that interests you in getting that information, you can definitely browse through this API reference, or even just see like where, if I inspect on this, like inspect, I should be able to find like the information regarding where this resource lies, and then I can like start appending that into the engine, basically. So yeah, if that interests you, more than welcome to. Remember to sign up for your own API key. Yeah. Is there any last questions or anything? I know this is kind of a quick one. Cool. If there isn't, that's okay. Now, just a few things. So I don't have access to the GDC platform. So like everything will be done through the Discord for right now for like events until September or whatever. Yeah, I know it's the end of August, or like, sorry, I know it's the beginning of August, and roughly the end, or like in like 2 weeks and stuff, is like exams. Hopefully, we'll have everything done by then. Or worst case, it might be the like last thing will be during exam week or something like that, and that's just like pushing it into the cloud. If we are doing that, I'm not too sure yet. But yeah, hopefully after next session, which might be a little bit longer, and will definitely be like next week. Might be a little bit longer because it is React, and there's a bunch of stuff that we need to talk about, like the styling and just like how React works and stuff. Yeah, you will have pretty much a finished project already. But now everything is done. Yeah, basically, like you could go, yeah, you could go from this and just build a HTML front end. You don't even need React or anything to get the information, because now you have this whole API call. You've done all this work that just easily gets wrapped into this little API recommendation, throw in a title, done. It's really cool. So yeah, you should be proud of yourselves and happy. Cool. With that, I'm going to end it here. And hopefully we'll see you next week at some point. Yeah, thank you. Stop the